Hi, welcome back to Knits and Bolts Costume Design. I'm Rebecca, and today we're going to discuss my goals that I had set for 2021, and I'm also going to talk about my goals that I set for 2022, or plans that I have. Now, I started out 2021 with finishing up my historical Halloween costume for 2020. I love So Susie. I learned so much with that project. I learned to draft a pattern. I also stepped my toe into millinery. Not a good outcome, but at least I learned new skills, and I will revisit that project to learn the proper techniques and make a better hat. It was such an absolutely fabulous learning experience. Next, I made some jewelry. Now, my jewelry is not perfect, but it's fun to make, and it'll give me a few accessory pieces for my historical costumes. Will also give me something to wear to special occasion events in my everyday life. And jewelry is just fun. It gave me just something a little different to do. I would like to explore making better quality jewelry sometime in the future, but making some costume jewelry for now will work. Next in my projects, I made 3 hand-sewn 19 teens chemise. I followed a pattern from Truly Victorian, and I made sure that in my process that each one would be unique with the trimmings and details. I didn't want one after another being the same. So that was absolutely fabulous to explore I guess, how do you say that? Explore options that would be the same garment, but make sure that they were fun. And so each detail is different. One has blue trim, one has pink trim, and the last one, it has lots of pin tucks. Will I ever revisit pin tucks again? I don't know. We'll have to see how much time passes before I get the bug to do that again. But it was fun to make them unique. The next adventure was moving. So I moved across town, and the place I'm in now affords me to have a wonderful sewing space. I'm able to create and have lots of space to do things. My sewing machine's out, my iron is out, I have a space to cut things, no more, floor troll, unless it's like a really big project. But I'm absolutely, ecstatic about my new space. I can't believe I actually have a dedicated space, and I look forward to seeing what I can create in this space. And with creating my sewing space, I began a YouTube channel. So I'll also link my video for the setting up of my sewing space. It was absolutely fabulous that I had the opportunity to do that. It has took me over a year to decide whether or not I wanted to start a YouTube channel. But so far the adventure's been absolutely fantastic. It's a learning curve, but I hope you will all join me on my adventures as they come. And let's look forward to seeing what we do next in this space. Next in my adventures was making thread catchers for each of the places I like to sew. I do a lot of hand sewing. I primarily sew that way. I learned that way. I did eventually move on to treadle sewing machines and things like that. I do own an electric machine, so I do that as well. But everywhere I like to sew, I wanted one of these thread catchers just to contain the chaos that comes with that. And I also made a video about it. So it was kind of tutorial in nature. I'm not sure if I will continue in a tutorial type nature in the future, but that project kind of suited that. And that, you know, I drafted the pattern, I did all, and so it was a great project to see the process and share that with all of you. If there's any interest in having a pattern or instructions to come out for those projects, if I'll see if we can't make that happen in 2022. My next adventure was moving on to 2 fall thrifted tablecloth skirts. Now, I had purchased the fabric back in January of 2021, and it was September before I even completed those projects. I did make a video on that as well, and it was great to finally get a UFO out of my UFO bin and go ahead and get those a reality, because I do really want to improve my history bounding everyday wardrobe, and those skirts were absolutely fabulous for that. About that time, I also lost my sojo. All of my motivation for completing projects just went out the window. I just could not finish. I just did not have the motivation. I didn't want to be in the sewing room. I didn't want any, I just kind of become, so it took until almost Christmas before I could get back to completing projects. And it was January, the 1st of January of 2022 when I was able to actually edit and get the video out for those skirts. And I had the footage the whole time. I just did not want anything. It was just, no, I wasn't just in a headspace to do that. So I was glad that I had some encouragement for other costumers in the community that encouraged me to go ahead and finish and get things going forward. And so, yeah, I am actually able to jump back into projects. While I was making the skirts, I also started my 19 Teens Rilla corset by Scroop Patterns. The pattern is absolutely fantastic. It was a learning curve for me. I've never done corsetry before, so that was, it was so not comfortable for me to do that. And I actually was scared to do a corset. I've never been scared to do a project before, but that turned out to be a very good learning experience for me. Of course, that was also during the time where I lost my sewing motivation. I got all the way to putting in the boning channels of that corset, and I just stopped. I wasn't able to complete it. So I'm almost done with that corset at this time, and hopefully I will be able to put out a video about that corset and its completion soon. And it's just about there. So we'll see how that evolves, and see if we can get a video out for you on the corset. Next is that throughout the year, I did do several other things. I did some challenges through Instagram to share my costuming adventures and other aspects through Instagram platform. And then I attended 2 virtual conferences. One of those was Costume College, put on by my guild. The committee and the volunteers that made that happen, taking an in-person conference and putting it out virtual so that we could still attend, was great. The amount of work that goes into that, it was mind-blowing. And then the second one that I attended was called Costume Symposium. This was put on by the costume community. They had creators put out content about skills, about costumes and projects that they were making, or any aspect of the costume world that would give you insight on how things work, or how this works or that works, or whatever the topic had been, but it all relates to costuming. And that was absolutely fabulous weekend as well. I enjoyed both of the conferences well. To both my guild and to the costuming community, thank you for putting on events that allows to folks like myself and other people out there, that allow them to be encouraged and to create and to learn new skills, and maybe show you, hey, that era doesn't look too scary. I can try that. Or, oh, that's okay. Anybody can do that. I can do that. So that is the great environment in both of those conferences were absolutely great. And I will do it again if if they're presented the options to do that. So I'd have quite a few plans for 2022. So hopefully that I'll get those completed. If I don't, that's okay. But I really want to try to complete these because I've had these plans since 2019. So it's high time that these projects get completed. So I want to continue and finish my 19 teens Rilla corset. Finish the corset. I have plans to make corset covers and drawers or combinations to go with along with my chemise and my corset. So I'm also going to continue with using Truly Victorian's pattern for both of those. And well, actually it'll be 3. So there'll be 3 corset cover drawers or combinations to go with the 3 gowns that I'm going to make. So after I get my corsets and my undergarments done, I want to start on the gowns. So I had planned 3. The first will be a gala gown. Now, first I went through looking at fashion plates and advertisements and going through some museum collections online to see what the gown, evening wear looked like for the era. And 19 teens are new to me. This is not an era that I have done before. So I had a lot to learn. So I drew a sketch of what I wanted my gown to look like. And not long after I drew my concept of what I wanted my gala gown to look like, Scroop Patterns posted a picture of an extant from a museum, and the style and the details that I drew in my concept image were very similar. And so I'm hoping to see how my skills and my detailing, and see how close do I get to that actual extant image. And so I can't wait. I'm so close to getting actually onto making the gown to go with all the undergarments. My second gown that I want to make is for a tea. Going down my research rabbit hole to find tea gowns and what they look like in the 19 teens led me to find an advertisement in Ladies' Home Journal for 1914. And I believe that's correct. I'll double check. But I fell in love with the gown and the way it looked. And so I started researching for patterns to see if it was still available, if it was in print. I haven't been able to locate that exact pattern, but I have located some patterns that will give me the look of that gown. I've also started in gathering the materials that I need for that gown as well. And I'm excited I just have an excitement for these gowns and what it brings, the joy that it brings for me. And I can't wait. Now the third 19 teens gown that I want to make will be for a breakfast, but I also hopefully that I can make this gown to work also for a tea. I think, I can probably go back and forth with that. Now the images that I found for my inspiration for this gown, I'm not 100% sure if it isn't actually from something based on 19 teens. It looks kind of like it. I found it on Pinterest. I haven't been able to, at this time, determine if it's based off an extant or if it's just this whatever this person's concept of 19 teens. So I'm going to do some more research into that and go from there. But I really want to go ahead and use that as my concept, but make sure that I'm making it, 19 teens, that it fits the silhouette, that it is something that could have potentially have been worn in the 19 teens. So I'm going to do that adventure. I've sourced a couple of the fabrics for that. I've also come up with the concept for the hat for that. I think I found a pattern. I'm going to use a pattern this time for millinery so that that project goes well. And so I really like this gown because parts of this gown will go on to go into another project as well. Next slated for my plans for 2022 will be my historical Halloween costume that I had planned for 2021. It is called Miss Independence. It's a fancy dress, I think is what it's called, and it's a different style than the other three 19 teens gowns. So it's later in the teens, so it has a more A-line type shape to it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of whimsical. The reason that I picked this in for my Halloween costume is because my daughter is soon to be enlisting in the military. And so this would play homage to her fulfilling her goal as becoming part of the U.S. military. So, and plus it would be just really fun to wear to parties and things like that for around 4th of July. I think that would be really, really fun. So I've started sourcing the fabrics for that. I am going to repurpose the hat for my Sunday gown and move it on, use it again. And so that I think it'd just be great, a great, using more of my pieces as we go, because I think that's really going to be economical and be more budget friendly for me to just make one hat that can do for 2 costumes. My ever-growing list of projects I want to do this year is to finish up what I had intended to do over the summer with the Vintage Pool Party hosted by Gwen Shenanigans. I did not get anywhere close to even starting that project. I sourced the materials. I bought a pattern from Mantua Maker for an 1860s bathing suit, and then I just didn't get around to getting the pattern made. I later saw where Gertie from Charm Patterns released a pattern called the Esty, which is a 1950s style bathing suit. I wanted that also, and so I put that in my plans to purchase that pattern so I could have a 1950s bathing suit as well. Well, and then just recently, a few days back, I went to Joann's to pick up a few materials for undergarments and other things, and there was a sale on Simplicity Patterns, and there was a re-release of a vintage 1950s pattern, so I picked that up. So I haven't decided on which pattern I want to go with to make my 1950s bathing suit, but hopefully that I'll be able to do that as well. Now, I also want to build my history bounding wardrobe. When I decided years ago that I wanted to be knits and bolts costume design, I had a theme in mind for my. I was actually trying to start a business around that, and I had the 1950s vibe to my theme for my business. If you're around my channel for any length of time, or around my Instagram, you'll know that my sewing machine is pink, so I call her Frenchie. I have a mannequin head where I style wigs and did some mask and things with, and I call her Rizzo. And then I have a dress form, I call her Marty. So you see the theme here. My dog's named Danny. So I have a grease theme around my my sewing space. So I wanted to kind of have that dress and that vibe related to my business and to myself while working. And then I have not got a business around that, but I want to continue with that in my everyday life. And I think it's just fun. So I'm learning, about hairstyles, and I'm learning about the clothing, and I want to build my wardrobe up and move toward that. So that's another thing that I'm going to work on in 2022. And I think it's just going to be fun. So a few other things that I would like to cram into 2022. We'll see how ambitious, I have a lot of ambition here. See how long my motivation lasts. But a couple of other things that I want to do is like holiday themed items, history bounding type things for my wardrobe. Now, during the fall and Christmas season, Gwen Shenanigans also hosted Gunny Saxoween and Gunny Saxmas, where Costubers created gowns that were made on the style of the Gunny Sax dresses of the 70s and 80s. I think those outfits are absolutely cute. I'm going to make me some for this year. I know I'm like behind the curve on that, but I wanted to make a couple of those, and I did get a couple of items to fabrics and see if those are going to work. If not, I will try to source some other materials to see if I can make those work. And then I also have plans to go to Costume College 2022, where I will, as of right now, that it will be an in-person event. We'll see how things play out, but I want to go to that conference. And if our costuming community puts on another costume symposium, I do want to go ahead and attend that as well, if that's an opportunity presented. And we'll see what Instagram challenges and other things that come along throughout the year. I'm usually behind the curve there. I have lots of things I want to make, and I do have two 1860s gowns that need some makeovers. They've needed makeovers for many, many, many years. And the material, I don't have any extra for those gowns, and one absolutely just does not fit. The other one fits, but neither gown has any structure to it. That's when I put in, oh, that'll just be good enough type mentality. So there's a lot I've learned a lot since I made those two gowns, and so I want to recreate those. Not recreate them, but I want to give them a makeover so that I can see where I have been, and now I know where I'm at. And I also want to continue to improve my skills, and I can't wait to make those gowns wearable and more functionable, and more have the better silhouette. I have made undergarments, partial undergarments for both of those gowns. I made a complete set of chemise and drawers for those. I have a pattern that I will use to create a corset for those gowns. And I have made a corded petticoat and a petticoat all hand sewn for those. Now the corset I probably won't do hand sewn. It just depends on how I've done very little. I've only made one corset and I'm not even done with it yet. So we'll see what transpires with that when we cross that bridge. I hope you stick around for all of what I have planned. That's a packed year, and that's a lot. And I understand that's a lot. Hopefully with your encouragement in creating videos and encouragement from the costuming community and friends and family, that I will be able to continue to create that, not only create my desire for all of the costumes and things that I want, but I also want to create content for you. So come along on my adventures, and if you haven't already liked, shared, and subscribed, please do so. And that way you'll know when I am posting all of my next content. Thank you for watching.